Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. The numbers are in and they are pushing for a higher cost of living adjustment, COLA, the increase to Social Security, as well as veterans benefits such as your disability compensation. Now, it's really important to understand the big picture here. I did a video on this a little earlier. I'm doing another one now because I want to get this information out there. The CPIW indice for the Consumer Price Index is watched every single month. However, it's the last 3 months of the federal fiscal year or the third quarter of the calendar year, whichever way you want to look at it, which is July, August, and September. And those are the actual numbers that will be utilized in order to calculate the true COLA that we will realize for 2025. However, the further we move through the year and the more data that we collect paints a picture of what the Consumer Price Index is doing, and it allows us the ability, or affords us the ability, to forecast and come up with predictions or projections of where that number may fall. Now, the numbers are in, like I said, and it is a drastic jump from the previous month's prediction. So January's numbers, which were reported in February, called for a projection of around a 1.75% increase to your compensation or Social Security benefits, whatever monetary benefits you're receiving. Now we have the February numbers reported in March, as of yesterday, March 12th, that are calling for a substantial increase from that initial 1.75 or last month's 1.75 prediction. I want to jump into it here with another article. This article is from Market Watch, and I'm going to jump through this for you, share the information. So please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Every thumbs up and every minute watched helps to put this into the hands of others. It kind of does two things. One, it shows that we actually care by having higher numbers on these things if anybody else happens to be paying attention. And it's educating ourselves on what's happening with regard to the marketplace and consumer price index with regard to our cost of living adjustment, right? It's better to kind of keep a light pulse on it as we get closer than to just be blindsided, I think. At the end of the day, it is what it is, but it's nice to kind of know where we're going to fall. So the headline here on Market Watch is Social Security COLA seen as lower in 2025. Now, yes, it is going to be lower than what we have seen, more than likely. However, you don't know what the next several months are going to bring to fruition. So we'll keep an eye on that. This article just came out on the 12th of March, so I want to share it with you here. Now, jumping into it, the Social Security cost of living, and by default, when I say Social Security, we can insert veterans, and really there's several different things that would also be included here that would be affected by a COLA, cost of living adjustment, or increase to whatever pay you have. So the Social Security cost of living adjustment for 2025 could be 2.4% compared to last month's prediction of 1.75. So it's went up nearly 0.75% in 1 month. So that's compared to last month's prediction. Last year's realized COLA, cost of living adjustment, for your Social Security benefits or for your VA disability compensation was at the 3.2%. So we're not too far off from that already. Now, let's jump into this a little further. A lot of this stuff is pulled from the Senior Citizens League. There's a senior analyst over there who does all of this weights and measures essentially on the CPI data to calculate where we should fall. So COLA is calculated based on the CPIW, which more heavily weighs costs for transportation, food, apparel, and other expenses that would be bought by urban non-retirees. Which, by the way, is why the Senior Citizens League, as well as congressional members on both the House and the Senate side, have called for adjusting how COLA is calculated. Specifically, instead of utilizing the CPIW, maybe use the CPIE. The CPIE is the Consumer Price Index for elderly, and it's, maybe apparel is not going to be that high up on the list, right? Maybe transportation is not that high up on the list, right? So those would be, but then medical needs are going to rise, right? And be higher up on that list. In any case, the CPIE would warrant a higher COLA, cost of living adjustment, than the current CPIW by about 0.25%, maybe a little more than that. So in any case, let's move on here. In January, the Senior Citizens League forecast the COLA would be 1.4% actually. And then in February, okay, so January was 1.4. February, last month, was the 1.75. And now here we are this month at the 2.4 prediction. So we are steadily climbing. The estimates for 2025 COLA will likely change as the year progresses. The official announcement for next year's COLA is not expected until October because, again, we need July, August, September's numbers. September's numbers will come out mid-October, and pretty much it's the same day when the actual COLA is announced. They just wait for those last numbers. Moving on, shelter, medical, and transportation prices remain higher than overall inflation rate, the Senior Citizens League said. The average COLA over the last 20 years has been about 2.6%, according to the Senior Citizens League. COLA is a benefit adjustment that reflects inflation. It's not a raise, but it still can be a boost for the roughly 67 million Social Security beneficiaries. And look, I get it. When you say raise, then people come back and say it's not a raise. And yes, it's not a raise. It's an adjustment, adjusting your pay upward, which is increasing it, which is raising the amount that you receive. So whatever. It's all a play on words. At the end of the day, it's more money than you were receiving before. So let's move on here. The trust fund that backs Social Security will be insolvent by 2033. That's not very long from now, 9 years. Which means that if nothing is done to bolster it, benefits for current and future recipients will be slashed by 23%. Huge. The Social Security COLA for 2024 increased the average retiree benefit by $59 per month, but how well does it compare with the dollar amounts that seniors report their household budgets increased in 2023? That's a good question. According to a new survey by the Senior Citizens League, 93% of surveyed respondents say their household expenses increased by more than $59 per month for 2023. A total of 43% reported their household expenses rose by more than $185 per month in 2023. So some major impacts there as far as the increases not really being able to cover, the adjustments, not being able to cover the realized inflation, right? So in other words, here's your inflation rate, right? And here is your adjustment rate. So it slowly is getting further and further and further apart. Yeah, sure, they're both going up. Inflation is up, adjustment is up. They're both going up, but the rate of, we'll call it upness, is not equal. It's a little bit less every year, which is creating a larger and larger gap. And that is being felt by seniors and veterans alike with regard to VA disability compensation, which is supposed to bridge the gap of earning power. So with that, we'll go ahead and end this here, but I wanted to keep you informed of where we are looking. We may fall as far as COLA is concerned. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.